Hi, Nicola Spurling here. Welcome back to my channel. It's really good to be back doing my normal kind of content from here on this couch. It's been a little while, and thank you for putting up with my renovation videos. Maybe you enjoyed them, but that was all I could really manage to put out. I'm still recovering from all of this. It's been quite a journey getting all of these renovations done all by myself because of the pandemic, but everything's done. I'm looking for a new tenant for my place, and I'm really excited to be getting back to these kinds of videos because I really enjoy this kind of content, and I know that it's what you're looking for as well for the most part. Now, I'm turning 30 soon, so what I really want to talk to you about today is all of the goals that I've accomplished that I set for myself as things that I wanted to be able to accomplish before I turned 30. And I'm very excited to say that I have accomplished all of those things now. This kind of fits in with the renovation because buying my own place and renovating it has been one of those goals of things to accomplish before I turn 30. But I also want to incorporate some of the trans aspects of all of this because when I was in my teens and early 20s thinking about what my 20th century of my life was going to look like, I really didn't have a lot to go on. I didn't actually see much of a future for myself. I was very depressed, and I did have some goals, and I'm going to be going through some of those because those are ones that I've accomplished. But there are also goals that kind of came up through the decade that have been goals of mine before I turned 30, but that have been sort of added a little bit later as I've discovered who I am and the things that I'm interested in and the things that I want to pursue. I also want to make it clear that just because I've accomplished these goals doesn't mean I'm living some perfect life. It's not like I have a ton of money. It's not like I live in some fancy place, have a wonderful family. None of these things. It was specifically goals that I wanted to achieve before I turned 30 that were not really related to money, just related to experiences that I wanted to have. But I'm also looking forward to what goals I want to accomplish when I turn 40. I still have 4 months before I turn 30, and a lot can happen in that time. But throughout that time, I'm going to be thinking about what it is that I want to accomplish in my 30s, where I want to be when I turn 40, and how I'm going to get there. So without further ado, let's get into this video. The first goal that I want to achieve was traveling, but I also wanted to make sure that I wasn't sacrificing too much stability for that. So I knew that I didn't want to travel for an endless amount of time, but I did want to do at least one big trip. And I decided that one big trip would be a 2-month backpack around Europe. I came back from that backpacking trip, and then I realized that's not enough. I need to do some more traveling. So at that point, I bought a camper van and I did a 5-month road trip around North America 2 years later. And that sort of satiated my travel bug. But the travel bug's coming back, so maybe that's going to be a goal for my 30s. But that's been a huge goal for me in my 20s, was to get that traveling done, and that's something that I was able to make happen. This is going to sound like a very ambitious goal, but I also really wanted to own my dream vehicle. Fortunately, my dream vehicle was not an expensive vehicle. At the time, my dream vehicle was a Mitsubishi Delica. It was one that I could go out and get for $4,000. But my dream vehicle wasn't just the Delica, it was the modified Delica, the experience, and that fit into my travel. I wanted to build a camper van. I wanted it to be this really cool van. And when I was at school and I was in my last year, I took an economics course, and the person there said, "How many of you have your dream vehicle?" And I was the only person in class that was able to confidently put up my hand, and it was not because I'd set my expectations low or my goals low, but because at the time that was what I wanted. I wanted the freedom of a camper van. I really loved the look of those old sort of hippie vans, but I wanted something a little more reliable than the VW vans. So the perfect combination for me at the time was a Mitsubishi Delica, and that's still one of my favorite vehicles of all time. I really miss that, and if you didn't already know, it was hit by a drunk driver, and that's why I don't have it anymore. Another goal of mine was to have multiple properties by the time I turned 30, and this seems like perhaps a greedy goal, perhaps a selfish goal, perhaps a goal that's unattainable for a lot of people, or a privileged goal. And yes, it is in a lot of ways, but I wasn't too focused on how much much that property was worth. I was focused, again, as with all of my other goals, on the experience. I wanted to be able to live in a place and then have another place as an investment, because when you live in a place, even when it goes up in value, unless you sell it and rent, you don't have any way of making use of that money. But if you own a property as a secondary property and the value goes up, you can sell that property and all of that money goes into your bank account. And that ties into one of my other goals, which was renovating a place of my own all by myself. And I accomplished that in the same time that I bought the apartment. You've seen the whole process of that. That was one of my goals. I bought the apartment and then I fully renovated it by myself. So check 2 goals off the list right before I turned 30. That was super exciting for me. And that's why I'm putting this video out right now, because it's very timely. Another big one for me was owning my own business, and that I was able to accomplish when I was 21. I started my company NES Design and Construction. I've been running that company on the side and also full-time, depending on what I'm doing at any given time. Sometimes it's because I've been laid off, other times it's because I couldn't find work because I'm trans, but it's been there for me when I've needed it, and it helps as a side business as well when I'm employed. At the moment I'm employed. The reason for that was in order to qualify for my mortgage, I needed employed income. The bank didn't really care about self-employed income, so I needed to make sure that I had a stable job. Another big goal of mine after leaving high school was to meet my biological family. If I didn't mention this already in another video, I am adopted, and I had birth parents that had kept in contact with me over the years, and I wanted to visit with them. So I met my birth mom when I was 18, and I met my birth dad a few years ago. So again, some accomplishments to check off before I turned 30, and some new family to add to my life. My parents are wonderful people, and I'm talking about my adopted parents, my real parents. They're amazing people, but I also just wanted to have a chance to meet my biological family and see what they were like. Another big goal of mine, obviously, was to live as a woman, presenting as a woman, and that's something I didn't actually know that I wanted to do before I turned 30 until I was about 23. The reason for that is I didn't actually really know what it meant to be trans until that time. I'd only really seen images online of trans people in pornographic images or as caricatures, and they didn't represent what I felt like. So I didn't identify with that, and I didn't realize that I was trans because I didn't really know what it meant to be trans. I didn't have any kind of SOGI education growing up, and that's why I'm such a big advocate of SOGI education now. But I did always want to live my life as a woman. I just always saw it as something that was far off in the future. You know, maybe one day when all of my family is gone and all of my friends don't care, I can transition. And it was a very strange way to look at my life, and it was also probably not very realistic because I also didn't really see myself living that long. So I think it was just sort of this pipe dream that I sort of in the back of my head thought would never happen. But when I became 23 and I found out what it meant to be trans, and I found out that this was a real possibility, that's when I knew that I had to transition. And that process, obviously between 23 and 30, that's 7 years of time, was going to be able to take place before I turned 30. So it became one of those things that I was able to do before I turned 30 that has made my life so much better. And lastly, I just wanted to make a bit of a name for myself. I wanted to leave a mark on the world in some way, shape, or form, get into a news article, whatever it might be. And that expectation has been so far surpassed. Never in a million years would I have thought that I would have been in tons of articles, running for politics, have a YouTube channel, have all these social media outlets. And it's not like I have a massive following, but it's still far more than I ever expected, and I think I could die happy knowing that I impacted at least one person in a positive way, but I know it's been more than that, and that's something that I'm extremely happy about, and something that I'm extremely grateful for. I'm really grateful for all of you supporting me and letting me know what you're gaining from me talking about being trans or whatever other issues I'm talking about for whatever reason I am in the news or am getting attention on social media. It's usually because you have found something in a message that I've put out there and it's resonated with you and you've shared it. And it feels really good to me to know that I'm having a positive impact on others. Now, like I said before, just because I have accomplished all of these goals doesn't mean my life is perfect, and it doesn't mean that I don't have more goals. I'm not entirely sure what the specifics of my goals look like between 30 and 40, but I do know that there's a few things that I want to look into. I want to look into whether family life is something that I want to pursue and what my future relationships might look like. I haven't been all that focused on relationships in my 20s, just because I've been busy, but also because I just haven't felt a huge pull to look into relationships. I'm very happy to be living on my own, and I want to find out if that's something that I want to keep doing, or maybe I want to pursue a relationship, or maybe I just want to wait and see if someone pops into my life naturally. You may see me as a confident person, but I don't see myself as that completely yet, so I still want to work on becoming more confident. I want to work on becoming healthier, because a lot of the time when I'm really pushing myself and I'm trying to accomplish all of the goals that you see me accomplishing on a regular basis, and people always comment about how great my work ethic is and how busy I am, that's often just a case of me sacrificing in other parts of my life, whether that's in health, in cleanliness, whatever it might be, and that's a piece that I really need to work on. I need to work on having a little bit better of a work-life balance. I'm thinking still about investment opportunities, about career paths. Just because I have these 2 apartments now doesn't mean I'm finished with my goals. I don't know what they're going to look like. Maybe it's going to be starting another business. Maybe it's going to be growing my business. Maybe it's going to be growing in the career that I'm in. Maybe it's going to be any number of things. I don't like to set limits on where my life is going to go, and I don't have a specific trajectory that I want it to follow. I just want to be able to experience life as it comes along and make decisions as they come along and take opportunities as they come along. I think the other point here is that I didn't put a huge amount of effort into making sure I accomplished all of these goals by the time I turned 30. The fact that I did is amazing, but the important thing to me is appreciating what I have and living in the present. I know that's what I want to be doing. That's not always what I do, so that's going to be something that I'm going to be working on in my 30s as well. So that's it for this video. I know that it's not exactly the trans content that I said I was going to get back to. Obviously, I spoke about trans issues in this video, so it is a little bit more in that vein. I'm back in this same spot, and I will be getting back to the proper trans content soon, but I really wanted to just touch on this because at the end of all of those renovation videos, that was when I finally checked off the last accomplishment of my 20s that I really wanted to complete. So I wanted to share that with you. It's a big momentous occasion for me. It's something I'm really excited about. I never thought that I would get to this point. I never thought that I would have accomplished all of this. And there's plenty of things in my life that I can look back on and say, well, I could have done that better, or I could have done that differently. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with where I'm at. Everyone in this world is just a work in progress. None of us have this figured out. So the fact that I could at least set these goals and then accomplish them is something that I'm really proud of, something that I wanted to share, and something that I wanted to document just for myself. If you enjoy this kind of content, as always, please hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. And until next time, have a great day.